Do you think anyone watches this shit beside your stupid friends? Huh? Do you? Do you? Do you?
Hi, and welcome to Inside Web Series. I'm TV's David M. Green. And if you want to finish your web series, you really can't go past the post-production process. I mean, I love watching raw footage as much as the next person. Not at all. Let's examine that process now.
I come from a visual effects background, so that was, a great tool to expand the look of this show. My house is actually not set in rural Virginia. It's surrounded by houses. So there's a lot of invisible effects in the show. Where I had to remove houses and vehicles and things to, make it look a little more remote. I mean, there are some obvious effects, that you look at and go, yeah, it's a little over the top. But, it was a great way to expand the scope of this show, to give it a much more sophisticated veneer of production value. I mean, anybody who's seen Malice, I mean, it looks almost like a network show. And of course, the catering budget on a single day of 24 was probably the budget of what we spent on our entire show.
It's very immediate. Within days of filming or producing, you see the episode, you see the finished product within days. It obviously depends on who you're working with, who the producer is, or whatever.
Alex, we gotta go. Not everyone's their own boss.
Yeah, I know.
You gonna help me later with that thing?
Because it goes online straight away, so you could film it on the Tuesday, and by, say, the Saturday, depending on how quickly you can edit, it can be online and people can see your work.
We were editing this in our bedrooms, and I always had to tell the editors, yo, don't forget, I know we're just cutting in our rooms and stuff, but you do have to realize the second this goes up, 70,000 people are going to watch it. It's crazy. It's really hard to grasp mentally. What you're working on in your home is going to go out to, thousands and thousands of people.
Because of Hollywood and because of television, there's this idea of just if everyone's not watching, it's not good. I just need 1 million views, 1 million more views, 10 billion views. And that's not true.
Economically, you do not need millions of views to make money. You should not need. You still need a good amount of views, but you don't need 1 million.
We're too caught up with views. How many views am I getting? And if I'm so good, how come I'm not, making money? But it's not about that.
This whole mass scale views, this quantity of views versus quality of views issue is kind of ruining the industry a little bit.
One difficulty of an animated web series is that you spend so much time just trying to get your characters to look like people. You spend so much time trying to get them to be happy or angry or frustrated or whatever the case is. If you're doing a live action web series, your people already look like people. That's their job, to act.
We'd get into the edit suite and there'd be 10, 20 takes of something that were all completely different. It's sort of like weaving all these different jokes and layers and things together in a way that made sense and was still engaging and entertaining. And it was this hilarious moment that I loved and wanted to put in, but it didn't work in context of what else was around it. And it's just one of those things where for the greater story and the greater good of the show, you have to cut it.
I don't think people truly understand the amount of work that goes into a 4-minute episode. It is a lot of work.
I think you need to be your own person. Stand up for yourself.
Not just writing, actually filming, but also the editing as well.
As a result of shooting everything on the go, with very little planning, very little scripting, the shooting ratio was just ridiculous. We came back with, I think, nearly 100 hours of footage, which has then been cut into 15 short episodes. So, I don't know, the shooting ratio is probably 60 or 70 to 1, which is, at the end of the day, really unnecessary.
Because people view it at a box like that big, 1080p doesn't always translate to, is that a good video or was it not a good video? You can film it on 720p and people won't tell at this resolution. Well, not really. You can tell.
Because usually people are so used to seeing it that big.
Well, you don't always need the highest of resolutions.
Because, it's fit for the internet, it's fit for YouTube. Resolution doesn't have to be exceeded above 1K.
You also start to go, okay, I don't need exactly the same quality camera. Unfortunately, that's changing, just like a lot of things.
So yeah, film on the highest resolution. You can. If it doesn't matter, it doesn't really matter.
I've never sat in an editor's chair and had to make decisions, and you know, it was really difficult because there is so much content and so many funny scenes, and you know, I didn't know how to like cut it down. Now luckily I had a professional editor working with me, so a lot of times I almost had to just meditate on that we have it, and it's nothing, you know, I didn't want to make it such a precious thing, because otherwise it would have taken us a really long time to edit.
In terms of logging and doing post-production, it was really, really a big task, and you know, I definitely saved myself for that for the future. So it became kind of, when you get back with 100 hours of footage, you need to take a good long break away from it and reassess it. What you can take away from it is to plan your shoots a lot better than what we did.
I think because web series creators are often wearing so many of the hats, it's impossible not to get stretched thin. There were times, even when we had everything in the can and we were editing it, in order to keep up with the release schedule that we had promised to people, I'd be staying up all night to finish editing an episode. I don't know if there's anything you can really do about that unless you have a bigger team and more money. It's just kind of the nature of the beast.
3 months, I would say, is about average for the actual filming, and then it takes us another 4 to 5 months in post-production before we finally release the episode. So one season of Divinity is a fairly long-term, time-consuming endeavor for us, simply because of the manpower that we have, and or I should say lack thereof. There's only 6 crew members working on Divinity at any given time, and that's during the actual shoot, and then in post-production there's pretty much 3 of us. So I would say that the total turnaround time for a season of Divinity is about 8 months.
There's been quite a lot of going to the post-production of this, and it wouldn't have been possible without a site called Ricka Movie, where we resourced a number of people who have been absolutely fantastic. We've got a guy called Hanno who's been doing some of the post-production, Tony, Arik, and these guys are making the pictures, doing the composition, the compositing, so on and so forth.
Being a science fiction series, it was very heavily, well, needed a lot of CGI work. So he contacted me through an online forum that I'm a part of.
Crowdsourcing has been really important in the development and the production of Mission Backup Earth.
I specifically love making music for this web series, or web saga. And it goes along the same lines of just saying a big screw you to Hollywood and all the stupid parameters that they've set up for themselves. I don't want to sound like Hans Zimmer. I'm sick of that nonsense. I want to hear crazy psychedelic stuff sometimes. I want to hear interesting approaches to how to make music work in movies. It seems like everyone's been pigeonholed, and now we finally are set free again. Work with a band, do whatever you want. I mean, there are moments in Lucidity where it sounds like crazy spaced out electronic music, or it sounds like a full choir. I've sung every part of a choir on top of myself for the show. I mean, do whatever you want. The rules are gone, people. Yeah! Music!
Once a web series has been edited, it's time to put it out there to the world. Typically, the final destination for a web series is the internet, but let's find out how web series producers do it.
The short answer to how do you distribute and market your web series, how do you distribute it? You put it everywhere you can until someone pays you money otherwise. How do you market? You talk about it all the time in as many different venues as you can. That's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's the one I have.
Season 1, we used primarily our own website and YouTube.
I knew as YouTube was a great platform, and obviously putting it on my, having a website for the web series.
In terms of distribution, we are an online show, of course, and we're available on all platforms everywhere.
That was always my philosophy with Too Easy, with 31 Questions. Even though 31 Questions airs on TV, we put them on YouTube afterwards.
Saturday nights on C31.
Yes!
Join David M. Green and have some fun with trivia.
The TV game show where you get to be the viewer. Ultimately, more people can watch your show on the internet because there's no geographical restrictions. Unless you have those geographical restrictions on those videos. I hate those. They should be removed. Even the first web series that I did, Fruit Cup, I only did 2 episodes, but they're both on YouTube.
You doing alright over there? Yeah, for the time being.
And that was back when YouTube had 10-minute restrictions. So I think the second episode, one of them's in 2 parts. That's inconvenient. Don't do that anymore. Just have it in 1.
Malice is on YouTube, Blip TV, Coldcast TV. We've since compiled all the episodes into a movie, and we're pursuing, we're trying to communicate with cable companies and see if we can get a Malice movie on TV and for DVD sales.
In terms of distribution, we're just on YouTube. We did look into things like Blip TV and there's another one, Coldcast, I think. But because we started as an experiment more so than we're going to make this a series, we just wanted to put it in the place that was the most accessible for as many people as possible.
We also had an online channel where we link all the shows from YouTube and Vimeo.
Lost Dog Season 2 coming to Channel 31 Thursday nights, 10 p.m. December 6th. Then after that, we're going to shove it all over the internet for you.
We were inspired by Adult Swim, Funny or Die. We wanted to make a channel for content that we didn't see on other Australian networks.
But Netflix is starting their new business model with shows like Orange is the New Black and Hemlock Grove and House of Cards. So the world is definitely changing. Networks online like Hulu and AOL, Sony and some others are creating programs specifically designed for the web or for the web that is now on your TV, which is the new wave of the future, which is also interesting. How is the monetization going to go? How is the payout going to go with the actors' unions and all that stuff? So it's still really muddy waters right now, and no one knows where it's going to end up. The point is, be there when it does end up. Be a part of the game.
Since its invention in 2005, YouTube has become the #1 video sharing website on the internet to find cat videos. But there's more to YouTube than babies, unicorns, and people falling down. Let's find out more now.
You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody under the age of 50 that doesn't know what YouTube is, or at least hasn't heard of it.
Of course, it provides a greater audience reach, and the TV, there aren't as strict deadlines and requirements from the networks.
So we put it up there because that's the place where people go and look for video content.
YouTube has probably the largest community out there, but they're now different communities. Vimeo's, in my opinion, for more independent kind of creative arts. YouTube is also for creative arts, but more commercially saturated.
How does social media play a part in promoting your web series?
Social media was really big for us too. We really liked the idea of being able to engage with the audience. Facebook we got on board with really early. Before we even premiered the first episode, we kind of did a little black bars across the face and who are these people, what is Chris and Josh sort of thing, which kind of got a few people interested from the get-go. So we had an audience essentially ready to watch the first episode, not knowing what they were in for. And then as the series went on, we really liked engaging and talking to people, engaging the feedback and stuff.
Learn about the festivals and become aware of the social media platforms that are out there, Facebook and Twitter, because that's ultimately how you're going to create your fan base, get your show seen, get your hits, etc.
Probably about 8 months to a year before we ever even filmed anything, we had already been doing some marketing through social media. It's harder to do that now because social media is so saturated.
We're on some blogs before we launched our site. I think we launched our site on a Sunday, and we were in the New York Times on Thursday. And that year, 2006, we were one of the New York Times best ideas of the year. I think what it really was, the best idea was not our show, The Berg, although people really loved the show. The best idea, I think, was this idea of making independent television online. I think it helped that our show was long. Our actual episodes go anywhere from 14 minutes to 23 minutes, and we do have one 45-minute 9-part episode.
We got contacted by a couple outside channels that wanted to distribute Raw Heat. Part of that deal was, we would split the ad revenue of anything we made, and and it was a nice feeling to have. I mean, to see that people took interest in the show and really enjoyed the show and wanted to promote it, and so that was really positive and motivating.
So I guess you want me to thank you?
I should be the one thanking you. I was just returning the favor.
Social media runs the world, and web series creators need to understand this and be able to utilize it to the best of their ability. And the best of their ability is going to be by not really promoting your personal web series, but to become a part of the larger web community out there. That's the key.
We're very lucky that we did build up a strong audience, and we really pushed that through our Facebook page and Twitter as well.
I think it's far more challenging in some ways because of having that personal relationship with the audience, which for the most part you don't generally with a feature film, when you end up just go around selling that film to various distributors, and those distributors themselves in whatever country have those relationships with those audiences. Here on a web series, you are responsible for that relationship.
I think it's really important to try to maintain a relationship with the people who support you, and to constantly make it aware that you're thankful for their support. Now, before I get out of here, I just want to thank you guys so much. Once again, I'm endlessly thanking you. Some of you may have heard that I got the opportunity recently to work with HBO and develop a show with Larry Wilmore, who's genius, hilarious, and those of you who've been following me from the beginning know that this has been a dream of mine for a long time, and it's really all because you guys have been sharing, commenting, showing the video to your friends, your family, your enemies.
People doing web series understand the value of keeping people connected to the project and bringing them back for more each time.
Did you know more than 6 billion hours of video are watched on YouTube every month? How do web series producers stand out from all the other craft on YouTube?
Years ago, I was friendly with Stan Lee. I was a big fan of his because of the fact, not just the characters he created, but the way he handled the letters at the back of the comic books. And that, to me, was real inspiration, because that's what makes interactivity. You're actually talking to your audience. You're using their first name.
I was talking to the fellow next to me. Another man standing there said, "Aren't you Stan Lee?" I said, "How do you know?" He said, "I recognized your voice." Yeah. I said, "From where?"
I think the way to grow a fan base, aside from making something people want to watch and posting regular updates, if you can get other people involved in some way, people who already have a fan base, bring them into your project, maybe they're a guest or something like that. Or maybe even, you find out they like the show, you get them to send you a tweet or something like that.
As a general rule, encourage interaction. Don't shut down comments completely. I do encourage moderation of comments, but it's a bit of a balancing act, getting the right level of I'm going to engage this much, but I'm going to stop this level of needless negativity. And that's something you have to work out.
To attract an audience to your web series, I would suggest having kind of a niche or just a focus when you're creating something. Have an audience and get it in front of that audience. That's the hardest thing, I think, is letting those people know that what you made, that it's out there and it exists. Because there's so much content now that it's hard for people to find it.
You have to give your audience time to even discover you. 3 seasons in, we're now currently filming our 4th season. It's amazing how many people still to this day are like, I didn't even know you existed. I didn't even know that you were out there. So really, one of the biggest challenges as a web series producer is just getting people to figure out who you are. Once they figure out who you are and where you are, they'll watch your show. It's just being like, hey, look at me, I'm over here. That's kind of one of the tricky parts.
There are a lot of things that I'll find a year or 2 later, and I'm like, why didn't I know about this? I love this. This is my favorite thing ever. So that's the biggest thing, is just finding that content and that audience that you need.
I'm a strong believer in tight storytelling. And, on the web, you're just simply one mouse click away from a distraction. So, I don't have a moment of slack in my show. I think I have to work twice as hard as TV just to keep people involved and engaged.
Que lo traten con respeto, aunque no tengan los recursos más altos,
si hacen las cosas bien, la audiencia se va a dar cuenta y los va a apreciar. Y eso va a hacer que pues, los recomienden con sus amigos y pues que respeten lo que hacen.
So get your fan base going, that's really important, get your name out there, and beyond that, there's just a lot of luck involved.
I have a lot of web series makers who say, how can I get this brand interested in my series? And the secret is, you're not going to get them interested in your series, because it has to be the absolute perfect fit. Not only, I'm sure your show's great, I'm sure it's funny, and I'm sure your audience is like the perfect demographic, but it also has to have both quantity and quality of views for me as a marketer to want to put my product into it. So it's got to have it's got to have the great quality of viewer, right? Like I need that perfect demographic that I'm aiming for, but it also has to have enough of them that it's a big scale, which is millions of views. That's what a client wants to see.
We had a lot of press. We had a big red carpet premiere to get publicity out there. We had a friend who was a publicist who got us into the Huffington Post. Season 2 was a lot bigger. We had a publicist that we hired, PR agency, that just put the show everywhere.
We also did a lot of short clips and kind of teasers and a lot of backstage footage.
What people have to understand about making viral video especially is that it really is the 15 minutes of fame scenario. It's not this thing where you get your big break and now you're hooked up with an advertiser and there's no big break. There's multiple breaks. And there's every day there's a new wave, and you either catch it or you don't. And if you miss it, forget about it and get on the new one. Or you can invest in the business of, real character-driven storytelling.
Unless you somehow randomly stumble upon the next amazing viral video. It's a slow, gradual process that you got, if you're going to be in it for your whole life, it's okay. Don't peak too early. Just gradually build that fan base and get better and better. And then when you do have that viral success, you'll be great anyway.
I think the most important thing to attract fans is to be patient. I was trying to build an audience, since Facebook started. I was constantly trying to find friends, and then when I found that it was open to the public, I would try to write funny statuses, and I started a blog and tried to lead people from Facebook to my blog. And by the time I started a YouTube channel, a lot of people who were following my blog went to my YouTube channel. Throughout that whole process, I was constantly engaging people, constantly getting to know the people that were supporting me and trying to support them in return, which I think is really important.
How we interact with fans, that's a hugely important thing, and that's a very bright spot. Our fans are incredibly responsive, personally and authentically involved with us because we talk to them in a way that really no other entertainment sector does. And we're good at that. We have to be, because if we don't involve with our fans, we don't stand a chance.
To build a following, get it out there, do your research, find the audience, put it in front of them, and that's really it. And make sure the content is good and that you show it to people, get feedback, and follow your vision and go 100% with it. Don't shy away because you think because you're afraid that it's to this or to that. Just go after it.
I'm James Manzo.
And I'm Michael Rasulo. And you're watching
Inside Web Series.
Thanks for watching Inside Web Series. On our next episode, we'll be looking more at distribution and festivals. It's better than a kick in the teeth. I'm David M. Green, and you can be too.